Okay, this is another checkpoint film of upcoming game synSpace Drone Runners. And the focus of this video is on how you actually share your musical compositions. Say you're working together on a map with someone else and you need to take turns to collaboratively develop a groove. Well, let's see. First of all, I've got two tablets here today we're going to use, 8-inch and a 7-inch. And we're going to work mainly on the 8-inch here, where we are first going to try and enter a starship. Okay, we're going to be a little, oh look, we haven't used this guy for a while. Okay, launch drone. Oh, this is new, so I now have a little terms of service in there. It's not too technical. I accept. Oh, that message, welcome to the Starmap, that actually came from the Lua script file associated with this particular Starmap. But we're going to be playing with music today. So I'm going to turn this off. That's the microphone. We'll get to that again in a minute, but for now we're going to turn that off. So once you've turned it off, it no longer appears in the social mode rotation. You just go straight from text chat directly to piano. Okay, so to make this the best possible demonstration, we're going to make both a new instrument, and then we're going to use that new instrument to make a new groove. And then we're going to log in with this guy here, who clearly will never have heard that groove before, and make sure that he, in fact, gets it. So let's actually sort of start him up first. Oh, this is the $50 Kindle. And something it does not do well is maintaining a desktop of icons that you actually want to use. Okay, what's happening there? Okay. Okay, so we'll join the same session. Okay, I'm the blue player, and this guy's played more recently, so he actually has a groove already. And you can tell that by when you open his info panel, it's got this extra button, which I hope is not too permanent. Right now I'm using the same button in two places, which I think I applaud that. It's just that it's not really good looking in either place. Okay, so anyway, I don't really want to, well, do I? Let's open this, let's turn off this guy's microphone also. And then let's open his piano. And let's think of a good instrument name, something near the top here. So we're going to make a new instrument name called Butter. This guy does not have butter. Okay, but going back to our main demo machine, he has a lot of B's, but he does not have something called butter. So let's start with bottle, which sounds like this. Okay, so that's got some slightly out of control filtering going on, but it's distinguishable. So we just need to make a new asset. So we're going to change it to butter. And we clone it. And we select off of it. Sounds different. We select back on it. That does not sound like what we cloned, does it? Is that a bug? Okay, well, what's important is that we know what butter sounds like, and I'll chase down that bug somewhere else. So that's what that sounds like. So now we open the Grooves panel, and we make a new groove by we'll start with an existing groove. We'll go into record mode, and we're on the loop recording panel. So I'll long press to clear out these loops. They're still remembered in this original groove, which was called Aries originally, but I'm not going to use old Aries. In fact, let's go to its tracks, and let's erase its old track. Boom. So now there's really nothing left of Aries other than these other loops that are defined, but we're not going to use those. So first of all, are we still selected on our instrument? Yes, we are. And I just recorded that. Oh, and I did it into loop 5, which was kind of weird. Okay, let's record something to loop 1. And then loop 2. And then if you haven't seen the loops before, the idea now is that we've recorded these little mini songs. They're limited to these 16 steps. And you can see the little white square going by, a little Cylon Raider thing. And you can adjust the bits per minute. Okay, get something kind of rhythmic. Okay, so now we stop recording, and we switch to the actual performance mode, and we turn off the loops. So now we're just in a free play mode. We're not recording, we're not playing. We can just, mess around on the piano, change instruments. We can turn loops on and off. We can practice, we can rehearse. But then when we're ready to go, we can start up a couple of loops that will be running at the moment we start the piece. And then and then we'll record. So we'll record, boom. So now we're actually recording, and we'll change a loop. And we'll start jamming away. Okay, and that's the end of our song. We'll fade out our loops, and then we'll turn it off. Okay, so now we're going to clone it. So we give it a new name, and that was Butter was the name of the instrument we were playing. We could call this Buttery. Clone it. Okay, so now we select off of it and play. So that's what that groove sounds like. And then we select on it and play. And you can see the loops getting turned on as part of the playback. Okay. So anyway, so it exists, and it shows up on the list as Buttery. Okay, now we switch to this player down here, and we look at his instrument list, and it still does not have Butter on it. And we look at his groove list, and it does not have Buttery on it. Okay, so now we're going to close this window, and over on this guy's machine, we're going to make sure that we've got Buttery selected, and then we're going to tap Use It. And I should probably have a confirmation screen there, not so much because it's important, but because it gives me a chance to give you a bit of documentation, because no one's going to know what that means. But anyway, so I've just selected it. Just like selecting your shell or your face as your personalization, this selects this groove as your personalization groove, and it may be used in various places. For example, maybe someday when you enter a server, it'll play automatically the first few seconds of your groove. But what it does right now is if I just go back into the game, and this is still a space game, so I'm just flying around in the game, la 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 la, and the blue player, he's flying around in the game, la 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 la. And so the red player just created the groove buttery. Okay, and the blue player should never have heard of it yet. So if he brings on his groove panel, he still does not know buttery. Now, I'm the blue player. I'm interested in what the red player who defined buttery, I click on his tab and I see, oh look, he's got that new button, the groove button. Okay, so I wonder, now, as soon as we hooked up in World, it kind of started thinking about transferring the data. So in theory, if we were to go look right now, buttery may have arrived. And it was probably at the very end also. Yes, so buttery has arrived. So I kind of messed up the demo because I don't know if I scrolled all the way to the end to prove to you that it wasn't already there. And if we go look at the patch list and look at the bottom of that, oh, I guess I restarted since then. Oh, that's interesting. I don't see butter yet. Okay. Anyway, but that's not the point. Point is, I, the blue player, am interested in what the red player's favorite groove is. So I tap this, boom, and it opens my groove browser with his groove selected, buttery, and it gives every illusion of having been received. So I will try playing it. I don't know if my volume's up. Claims to be 29 seconds long. Maybe my volume's down. And my volume is... No, my volume's up pretty high. I wonder what sort of bug this is. Oh my goodness. That was odd. That works. That is very strange. Oh, well, apparently I have a little bug here. Don't know how I did that. Let's come back in and see what happens. I guess we could go the other direction. For example, the red player may be interested in what the blue player's favorite groove is. And his is called Flame. And if we play that, that's apparently Flame. So this is an example of a successful transfer. But I want to take one more look at this unsuccessful transfer. I'm the blue player. I'm interested in what the red player's favorite is. I see it's called... okay, this is a bug I know about. Those objects that run those controls are not instantiated until the first time the thing is displayed, which it hadn't been done yet since I restarted it, and so when it went, anyway. I just need to force their creation earlier. So I click on the red guy, and I do this, and buttery, and now it's in the right alphabetical order also. But if I look at the patch list, do I see butter yet? I still don't see butter. So I think that failed. I think it failed to get the patches that were used. Huh. Well, thank you for witnessing this horrible bug. What happened? And then if I play it without the patches, apparently it hangs. Hangs hard. Interesting. Okay, well, thank you for helping me find a bug, and I guess that's a good enough reason not to show you anything else. But this weekend I did work on the microphone stuff a little bit. So I'll turn that back on. And now in the rotation, after the text keyboard, is the microphone keyboard, and you can see the voice. Oh, that's what a telephone sounds like. Those are the frequencies used in a phone. Oh, camera better. Okay, we'll stop the recording. Okay, now what we can do is we now have this little slider. So our total recording is 69 frames, but I can select a range, and then the play button only plays in the range. And the nice thing about that is I can set the range to just 0. So just a single frame. So this is the spectral content of frame 43. And in addition to seeing the actual energy I measured, which, if I give a pure sine wave, the energy measured is going to be not just a pure peak. It's going to be a rounded slope, right? It's not perfect. There's noise. And a real person singing a little bit off key, there'd be even more of that. But what I do is I try, boy, this looks like it's not actually working all that well. Okay. I look for peaks, right? So I feel that these flashing brown bars are the peaks I felt I saw in this particular energy, which also varies with the peak energy. For example, this highest bar here is 5 million in my units. Whereas on another page, if you're curious about what a particular line here represents, if you just tap it, it's kind of like playing it on the piano. So I know this peak that is really prominent is the one that sounds around here. And this one, the second most prominent one, is the one that sounds like this. And the low one's that. And you can kind of park that off to the side when you're not using it. But anyway, so the idea is then what you're hearing here is my recreation of approximately 1/16 of a second's harmonic content. So these bars represent the sine waves that I'm going to add together and unfortunately I don't stick that on the oscilloscope. But in theory, it's a recreation of a moment of, like if I was going, here, let's just erase that data, and I will hold a sound. Okay, and so I held it pretty well. You can see that over the duration of the sound, it pretty much had, it had a fundamental sound that was down here, and then it had like a first harmonic that's about 1 octave above, and that's probably second, that's fourth harmonic, so that's probably third harmonic. So you can see pretty nicely, just pure harmonics, nothing too complicated. And you can see how they varied a little bit. You can see them wobbling up and down, but it pretty much is holding on to those notes. And you don't hear a lot of, as I'm going past them, you don't hear a lot of random chaotic. So this is a big success. Okay, and then I don't have a way to double click this to go back to the full thing. So if I just play this, and where it tends to be the most different is when you get to the end of the recording, because you can't help but your voice goes from ooh to silence, and in the course of doing that, it goes through some other variations. Anyway, what did I want to show? Do I want to show anything? What this is particularly good at is recognizing perfectly in tune frequency sine waves. So if I come over here and just bring up the piano and start editing the current patch and give it a little more sustain. Clean this up. A little louder, okay. And let's get rid of some of these harmonics. Actually, let's start with that one. Okay. Got out of parity there. Okay, so now I'm only letting through one oscillator, so therefore this is a pure sine wave. And now if I go over to this guy and turn on his record and play that note again, he really, nails it. I mean, that's exactly the right. That's what you want to see. Octave above that, octave below that. Now here we have the problem that the bass response on the speakers on the tablets is not good enough to really convey that one. Plus, I think there's a mathematical bias to the higher frequencies. For example, oops. If I do a high frequency, you see that the peak energy in the frame is almost 5 million. But if I do a lower frequency, it's only 3 million. If I go lower than that, it drops off quickly. So part of that is because in a fixed sample size, there's more iterations of the full period of the higher frequency waveform. And, certainly the way it gets through my math, that ends up basically to a larger integral. So I don't know if I need to apply a correction factor there or not. I think the way I do the peak detection is kind of agnostic. It's kind of dynamic range agnostic. And I still can say, no, there's also an absolute as well as a relative component. So actually, here's something that's new. If you saw this before, okay, delete the old data. It used to be that I would edit out the pauses. So as you can see here, so I'm recording, it's making new frames, you see the frame counter go up, I get quiet. Now I start talking again, and so there's a big pause around frame 80, right? Okay, blah, 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 now I stop recording, and now I play it back. Okay, so I now have the ability to, though, even though in the actual recording I'm compressing silence out, I'm now remembering how much silence I compressed. And then when I'm playing something back that I think might be musical, I don't, I preserve the original timing. And that's made quite a huge improvement in the perception of rhythm for obvious reasons. And it really, it's not like I'm recording this stuff I do have sort of a master plan to create an AI database that's driven from everything it's ever heard you say, but I'm nowhere near that at this point, and so none of this stuff is needed any longer than it's giving you the pleasure of listening to it. So it's just in memory, and I have enough memory that I could just not worry about these silence frames, and I could just plain record a spectrum everywhere, because it would probably be interesting. There's a little noise in there, and the way I've got it now, I lose all information about those dark periods. But anyway, I think that was everything I want to show in this film, which is now 25 minutes long. Thank you again. This is for an upcoming game for Android called synSpace Drone Runners, where you fly little spaceships around and shoot at each other, and people can contribute new maps, and the maps can now include, let's see, I think I can show you that. Oh yeah, can now include Lua scripts. And I have a thing here, show script window. So this one has a really simple script that's mostly comment. And you can see it's not too long. It doesn't do much either, and so it'll get longer. But you don't really write the script on the tablet. You basically write the script on your Google Drive. So if you do that on your tablet, okay, fine. But you don't do it inside the game. You do have to have some PC or other device that you can type text easily into a Google Drive document. G Drive. If you can get it on Google Drive, then I can use it. And that already gets distributed automatically. So if you create new scripts, then just like the music, you just use them in front of people and they get a copy. Okay, the end. And now it's 26 minutes. Thanks again. Bye.